Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the full tilt Kamehameha Super Saiyan 2 Gohan youth character and how good they are after their Super Easy A. Now Tech Prime Battle Goku got a Super Easy A as the free-to-play unit, but Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is the first summonable LR to receive his Super Easy A. He raises defense 1 turn on his 12 key, greatly raises attack and raises defense 1 turn on his 18 key, has int type key +4 and HP attack and defense of 120%. My Gohan is at 55% in the hidden potential system, and obviously the big change is passive. The passive is what changes with the Super Easy A. Gohan defense of 258% changes tech key spheres to int immediately, randomly changes key spheres of a certain type to rainbow, receives an additional key +2 per key sphere, and gives superclass allies attack and defense of 40%. So immediately they've given him a ton of utility to enable orb changing to get him to the point where he's fulfilling his full passive, and they've given him some support because the concept is that he's more than likely going to be floating off on a lot of teams as a third slot character. When there's an extreme class enemy, or enemies will have defense down of 40%, and he has a chance of evasion of 40%. The big thing is the amount of orbs. So when attacking with 12 or more key, he has defense of 158%. For every key sphere obtained, he gets 50%. With 3 or more key spheres, he gets attack up of 158% and a crit and damage reduction of 50%. Very nice to lock it behind 3 key spheres, because him getting 3 key spheres is very attainable because of how he changes orbs, so that's very nice. 7 or more key spheres obtained gives him another 158% attack up and crit up of 50%, so basically guaranteed crit at this point. 10 or more key spheres gives him 158% more key attack, and 15 or more gives him another 158% attack. So the big question is, can you hit 15 key spheres? We'll talk about that just now, but when HP is 58% or less starting from the 4th turn, you will change key spheres all to int and get a further damage reduction rate of 30% before attacking. So what should you do with Gohan? Well, you should build him mainly with additionals and evasion. Crit isn't something that's massive. 3 or more key spheres gives him 50% crit. So there's absolutely no reason to give him crit. You should be giving him additionals, and you should be giving him evasion. The reason why you should give him additionals, obviously, more damage. He can do follow-up attacks that are quite high. He can also obviously, raise his defense a little bit with those, but take advantage of his crit, his attack boost, everything like that. And evasion obviously helps, even though he has damage reduction at a pretty good level after supering, and it's not too hard to get there, and he's obviously got his 40% evasion against extreme enemies. Having that extra evasion is good. How easy is it to get to 15 key spheres? Honestly, not that easy. It's pretty easy, I'd say, to get to 7 and 10. 7 is actually fairly simple. 10, you can get there more times than not. While filming for this video, I probably ran through about 10 or so turns, 10 to 12 turns with Gohan, and without using items in those 10 to 12 turns, managed to get past 10 pretty consistently. Getting to 15, however, was definitely challenging. A lot of it is because Gohan creates so many rainbow orbs, if you're not careful, that your field can actually be flooded with rainbow orbs, and it actually breaks up the int key spheres too much. Would have been nice if they just made it that he made more int key spheres, but then I do understand it would maybe probably have been too easy for him to do like a ton of damage. But at this point, like, Gohan's whole spiel is orb based damage, and like, yes, he does good damage. With 15 key spheres and a bit of support on rotation and everything at 55%, he can do like 37 million attack stats, and that's obviously with a guaranteed crit. So I completely understand why they have made it that they've locked it behind 15. The thing for me is that Gohan is just that, though. He is an orb changing unit. So there's going to be those situations where Gohan's going to absolutely crush it, and there's going to be those situations where you're going to get like the 7 key. You're going to be looking and be like, oh my gosh, I can get 7 key spheres, just enough to get my crit off. Like, it's one of those situations. For me personally, I think Gohan's good. I wouldn't necessarily say he's a second slot unit. His issue is that he obviously shares the position with the physical version of himself that recently just came out, who is a lot less orb dependent. So technically speaking, this Gohan can output more damage than the new LR right from turn 1. But from around about turn 5, once that Gohan's attack and defense and crit and everything kicks in, the difference becomes quite startling in consistency. What that means, though, is that you can just run this Super Saiyan 2 Gohan on another rotation. You could run him as a floater because he gives support. Like, for me, I find him as a great floating damage dealer. There's a couple of reasons why. Firstly, it removes a lot of your dependency on catering to him with orbs. You can just let him float, change orbs, and then use what you need for him to be strong. Secondly, it lets you get the benefit of his support, obviously, as a floater, and it also gives you the benefit of his levels of defensive security quite far away from where the action points are. Gohan's defense is decent, 300k give or take at the start of turn, which is good. 300k is pretty good. You have the 40% evasion against extreme class enemies. Remember, you also have the damage reduction of 50% with 3 or more key spheres obtained. You have the additional damage reduction, obviously, if you get low on health. So defensively, it's not like he's remotely terrible in any way, but I think, like, if I was running him on a full team, like a really strong full team, trying to get the best out of that team, I'd probably run him as a floater. However, obviously, if you don't have physical SS2 Gohan, or you're just looking for a good second slot, he is really, really good as a second slot. Big damage, big numbers, really good, and his consistency is good. Like I said, barring getting 15 key orbs, he still consistently gets more than 10. That's 26, 27, 28 million attack stats at 55%. Remember, because of how stats work and everything, the more dupes you have in Gohan, the crazier he's going to explode. Like, he is going to go absolutely insane with more dupes. All in all, I'd say Gohan is pretty good. Link set is really solid. Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, legendary power, fierce battle, prepared for battle. So Link set's good. He links up great with a ton of premium LRs, premium Super Saiyan LRs, premium Goku LRs, Gohan LRs. So yeah, honestly, I have no problem with this Gohan. I think they've done him just right. Would have been nicer to have a little bit less rainbow orbs to help get that 15 orb consistency, but the fact that he can regularly get 10 for me is good enough, and then the 15 is like the moment to see him like absolutely take over. So I think great, super easy.